Chiapas, the southernmost state of Mexico, they tell of La Malahora or La Malora or La Malogra. She usually appears as a beautiful long-haired woman dressed in white, walking along the side of the road at night. Men who encounter her are so taken by her beauty and seductive ways that they follow her mindlessly with no heed to where she's leading them. The lucky few who have met La Malahora and lived to tell the tale say that while following her, they lost their sense of direction. If they carried a lamp, it would suddenly stop working. Luckily, these fellows noticed that the lovely lady they were following floated rather than walked. Or they noticed that her toes were backwards. Those poor victims who don't look down at La Malahora's feet will follow her to their doom as she leads them over the edge of a ravine. And if you see La Malahora on the road dressed in black, then look out. She's far more fierce and aggressive in her black-clad form. Thomas Kaufman collected a La Malahora story told in Moco, a dying Mayan language spoken in Chiapas in 1967. In this story, the storyteller refers to our monstrous as La Mala Mujer, the evil woman. A man from Motozintla had a girlfriend in Amatenango. One night, as he was on his way to visit her, he ran into a woman on the road. She looked like his girlfriend. "Since you were coming to see me, I came out to meet you," she said. "I've brought all my things. Let's run away together." "Are you serious?" the man asked. He couldn't believe his luck. But then he looked at the woman more closely and he saw that her toes were on backwards. "You're not my girlfriend," he said. "Of course I am," she said. "Now let's go before my father finds us." The man insisted that she lied, but she denied it. "No, you don't fool me," and the man slipped a blindfold on the woman and began to hit her until she ran away. The next day, the man got a needle, then went to the priest and had it blessed. That night, he walked on the road to Amatenango again. He ran into La Mala Mujer on the way, again posing as his girlfriend, and this time he pretended that he believed her. They ran away together, and after some time they arrived at a little glen where they stopped to rest. The man pretended to feel romantic and leaned over to embrace his girlfriend. As they sat down, he slipped the blessed needle beneath her without her noticing. The needle stuck her to the spot. She couldn't get back up. Then the man left and went back to the priest. When they returned after dawn, La Mala Mujer was still there, with her hair streaming all around her. The priest told the man to hit her with a branch while the priest prayed. Just as the priest began his prayers and the man raised his branch, the woman vanished. Meanwhile, on the other side of the region, in New Mexico, on the southern border of the United States, La Malahora is a completely different creature. In 1910, Aurelio Espinosa described La Malahora or La Malogra as an evil spirit that haunts the crossroads at night, hunting those who travel the roads alone. If you see it, you will be driven permanently insane. According to Espinosa, La Malogra looks like a large lock of wool or even an entire fleece that expands and contracts in size before its viewer. It rarely appears in human form, but when it does, it's a sign of bad omen, disaster, or death. Ana Castillo referred to this version of La Malora in her novel So Far From God. In the novel, the character of Caridad is attacked by something made of sharp metal and splintered wood, of limestone, gold, and brittle parchment. It held the weight of a continent and was indelible as ink, centuries old and yet as strong as a young wolf. It had no shape and was darker than the night, and mostly, as Caridad would never ever forget, it was pure force. From the commentary on the novel that I've read, it seems that this attack inspires Caridad to turn her troubled life around to become a curandera, a traditional folk healer. More modern New Mexican versions of La Mala Hora describe her as a terrifying woman in black, who appears to travelers at night when a death is about to occur. There's a particular story that's floating around the internet of a woman driving alone at night on the way to Santa Fe. She runs into a demonic woman on the highway. The next morning, she gets the news that her husband, who had been away on a business trip, had been killed. According to one informant, in Monterrey, Mexico, northern Mexico, La Mala Hora has a face like a horse and runs alongside your car. I think in this version, she is also an omen of death. Whether she is a temptress or death's messenger, the lesson of La Mala Hora is clear. Be wary traveling the roads alone at night. The story goes around like, there was a woman whose husband was away on business. One night, she decided to go stay with a friend in Santa Fe. It was just after midnight when she left her house and drove down the lonely deserted highway. After a while, she approached a small crossroads when suddenly a dark shape appeared in front of her car. The woman screamed in fright and slammed on the brakes, screeching to a halt. When she looked up again, the dark shape had disappeared. For a second, the woman breathed a sigh of relief. Then she turned to her right and saw something that almost gave her a heart attack. Right beside her window, looking in at her, was a hideous old lady. She had the twisted face of a demon, glowing red eyes and sharp-pointed teeth. The demonic lady began clawing at the window, trying to break the glass. Terrified, the woman put her foot down on the accelerator and the car took off down the road. For a few terrible moments, the demonic lady ran along the side of the car, still clawing at the window. Then the car sped up and she fell behind. The woman looked in her rear view mirror. The last thing she saw was the demon growling taller and taller until it was as large as a tree. When the woman reached her friend's house, she ran inside and locked the door behind her. The woman explained what she had seen at the crossroads, and her friend gasped in horror. It must have been La Mala Hora, said her friend, the evil one. They say she only appears at a crossroad when someone is about to die. The woman was overcome by a feeling of dread and impending doom. She couldn't sleep a wink that night. She waited until morning, then drove home. She made sure not to drive by the crossroads again, fearing that the demonic lady would appear once more. When the woman reached home, she found a police car waiting in her driveway. The officers approached her, asked her name, and broke the terrible news to her. Her husband had been mugged on the way back to his hotel the night before. He had been shot in the head and was killed instantly. It all happened just after midnight.